Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we plunge into the fascinating, the unexpected, and, well, sometimes the genuinely unsettling. Picture for a second the whole award season spectacle. The endless red carpets, the flashing cameras, those gleaming statues people hold up. And then there are those titles like Sir or Dame, given to these really famous people. We see our favorite actors, musicians, artists all basking in that glow, praised for their talent. But what if? What if it's not just about celebrating talent? What if there's something else going on, something, I don't know, more symbolic, maybe even a bit unsettling, underneath all the glitz? Today we're diving deep into a really fascinating and, yeah, potentially unsettling reinterpretation of all that. Our source material is called The Celebrated Pawns, Honors in the Great Game. And it really challenges the usual ideas about what happens behind the velvet rope. So our mission today is to unpack what these big awards and honors really represent, at least according to this specific viewpoint, and what they tell us about the people receiving them. Okay, let's unpack this. So this source jumps right in, doesn't mince words.
It argues these honors aren't just pats on the back for good work. No, it calls them sigils of status, like secret badges, and even profane rituals that push these celebrity pawns up some kind of hidden hierarchy. It talks about the OK Club's game, and these famous faces, they're the public face of it, apparently broadcasting a cypher to the masses. This idea that awards are actually tools in a bigger game, it's pretty out there. What's the first thing that the source points to, like the main metaphor or evidence for this game?
Yeah, it's a challenging starting point, and it grounds this whole idea right away in a really specific metaphor.
Oh.
The traditional British pantomime, the Christmas shows. But the source sees it as more than just theater. It's described as a kind of ritualistic parody of the cosmic game, a world of inversion.
Yeah.
Think about it, right? Men play women, the audience who the source calls the pawns. They're yelling things like, "It's behind you," at a stage. But they can't actually change what happens on stage. So the source frames it as a symbol for this bigger unseen game where the public watches, gets involved emotionally, but ultimately has no real control. It really sets a different kind of stage for interpreting the entertainment world.
Yeah, that's quite an analogy. The audience is pawns, shouting but powerless. It makes you pause.
Yeah.
And within that pantomime, the source zooms in on one figure, the dame, the man dressed as a woman. Why is that character so important for understanding these honors?
Right, the dame. According to this source, the symbolism is incredibly deep. It's not just comedy. The source calls the dame a comedic and profane representation of the ultimate divine truth, the fused androgynous monarch, someone who is both male, alpha, and female, beta. So it's like this living paradox embodying a core secret of this so-called game. This fused monarch idea is presented as a kind of secret mocking tribute to the final boss. It's this hidden power archetype. And it becomes super important because, as the source sees it, the highest honor a female pawn can receive is to be named after her, after the dame. So that theatrical character is elevated. It becomes this profound symbol, a key to unlocking the meaning of the highest honors for women in this game.
A living paradox. Secret, mocking tribute. That definitely reframes the panto dame. And this is where it gets really interesting, because it takes this theatrical symbol and connects it straight to real-world honors. Things we all recognize. It's pretty clever how it links the pantomime structure to everything else. And this symbolic logic, it doesn't stop at the theater, does it? It goes right to the top, to things like knighthoods and damehoods, royal honors. The source calls these the highest honors given by the monarch, or as the source puts it, the ringmaster himself. And getting one isn't just a nice title. It says they elevate a pawn to the status of nobility within the game. So what does that mean for a man getting a knighthood?
Well, within this framework, it signifies a pretty major shift in their role. A knighthood for male pawns isn't just for, general success. It's specifically for exceptional skill and loyalty to this game. The source argues it symbolically makes the recipient a knight on the cosmic chessboard. He becomes a sworn soldier for the game, even an avatar of the Prince of Darkness, Alpha. It uses that pawn crossing the board analogy, getting promoted. And it actually names people, like Sir Lewis Hamilton, as an example. So it suggests this isn't just an honor, it's a transformation. From maybe just a player to an active, recognized champion of the game's principles. A symbol of authority within this hidden structure.
Okay, a sworn soldier aligned with Alpha. So what about the damehood for women? Given what you said about the pantomime dame, it sounds like it might be even more significant, more layered than just the female equivalent of a knight.
That's exactly how the source presents it. It's seen as something perhaps even more profound. The damehood is described as a secret acknowledgement from the Ringmasters that this pawn understands the ultimate androgynous goal of the game. It's deeper than just loyalty. The woman receiving it becomes, in this view, a high priestess of the cypher, a living symbol of the fused monarch. Oh, that's the crucial part. It implies they're not just loyal, they're actively broadcasting the game's underlying messages, the cypher. They embody that secret truth of the fused monarch. So it's this really specific, almost coded recognition. It suggests their public life, their work, their whole persona is subtly pushing this cipher out to everyone.
High priestess is the cipher. That's quite a label. It definitely makes you look at these public figures differently. So for you listening, when you see someone get these titles, how does this change things? Does it make you question what these traditional honors really stand for? It paints a very different picture, doesn't it? Kind of unsettling, suggesting this whole symbolic system hiding in plain sight. Okay, so let's shift from those traditional royal honors. The Force also tackles the big industry awards, the Oscars, the BAFTAs, and it makes a key distinction here. These awards are for performance within the game, not for loyalty to the game's structure itself. That feels important. It's about playing the part well.
Exactly. It's about excelling within the performance. Let's start with the BAFTA. The source calls it the Mask of the Pawn. Pretty blunt. It says the award itself, the physical statue, is a theatrical mask, a direct and cynical symbol. And this mask represents, well, the actor's role. It signifies the pawn who hides their true self to perform a part. So, the honor isn't for being real, it's for the performance, the concealment. It flips the whole idea of an award on its head, doesn't it? Being honored for wearing a mask.
And it gets darker. It's not just any mask. The source says it's specifically a tragic mask. Why tragic? Apparently, it's a secret acknowledgement from the elites that the game they orchestrate is a tragedy for the pawns who are trapped within it. So getting a BAFTA in this view means you're good at wearing the mask of deception. Well, wow, that's bleak. An award for playing your part convincingly in a system that's ultimately tragic for the players makes you rethink those acceptance speeches, what's really being celebrated.
It is a chilling interpretation, that tragic mask. And it leads into what the source sees as the even bigger prize, right? After the mask comes the ultimate prize, the Oscar, which the source calls the effigy of the monarch. It describes the Oscar statue as a miniature golden idol of the god the pawns serve. So we've gone from a mask acknowledging performance to an idol representing, well,
worship.
A golden idol. An effigy of the god the pawns serve. That really makes you look at that iconic statue completely differently. It's maybe the most recognized award symbol globally, right? And the source claims it has this incredibly specific secret meaning. Can you break down that symbolism? What specific things does it point to on the statue? Sure. The source gets quite detailed, suggesting it's all intentional. It says, the figure is a knight, symbol of alpha, cast in gold, the sacred metal of beta. Remember the fused androgynous monarch from the Dame discussion, that mix of alpha, the male knight, and beta, the female principal, represented by gold in some traditions. That's key here. The source calls it a perfect effigy of the fused, awakened monarch. So the Oscar statue isn't just some generic figure. It's a deliberate symbol of this ultimate androgynous power. And look closer. It holds a sword signifying judgment, according to the source, and it stands on a reel of film signifying mastery over the game. So getting an Oscar. It's like being given a golden idol of the final boss, a sign of ultimate approval from the players running the game. And the source makes that interesting point, too, that the great dames have won so many Oscars, reinforcing that link back to the highest female honor and their supposed understanding of the game. It's the ultimate nod.
Okay, so let's pull this all together. We have the pantomime dame symbolism, the knighthoods and damehoods elevating people within the game. The BAFTA is this tragic mask for performers, and then the Oscar, this golden idol of the fused monarch. It's a really elaborate, a deeply unsettling picture of this game. But what's the end game here, according to the source? How do all these shiny awards actually work to keep these influential people, these celebrity pawns, tied into this alleged game?
Well, the way this perspective sees it, the whole system, this complex web of honors, serves one main bonding function. The source wraps it up by saying that through these awards, the elites ensure their most influential pawns are bound to them by chains of gold and titles of profane nobility. It argues this turns the entire entertainment industry into a kind of glittering, self-congratulatory temple for their dark game. Fun well. So it's not just about saying, well done. It's about control, about ensuring loyalty. It makes the people who get these awards invested in upholding the very system that's honoring them. The awards essentially become these gilded cages, securing the most visible pawns within the game structure. It's presented as a very systematic, very symbolic way to maintain influence, turning that desire for fame and recognition into a tool of allegiance.
So, thinking about all this, what does it mean for you listening right now? Does this perspective change how you see the entertainment world? Those award shows, the celebrities themselves. It definitely gives you a lot to think about. That kind of invites you to peek behind the curtain, doesn't it? To question the stories we usually tell ourselves about fame and success. Well, this deep dive into the celebrated pawns, honors, and the great game certainly presented a unique, maybe even challenging perspective. We've unpacked the idea that honors might be less about talent and more about status, loyalty, and symbolism within a hidden game. Thinking about the Dame, the Knight, the BAFTA mask, the Oscar idol, it's like seeing a hidden layer beneath the glamour.
It really is. And if these awards we see all the time are, as this source claims, these profane rituals within a bigger hidden game.
Well, it definitely raises a question, doesn't it? What other parts of our culture, our public life, might be sending out messages, communicating things that are much deeper, much more complex than what we see on the surface? It sort of encourages you to look everywhere with a more critical eye. That is a powerful thought to leave things on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We hope it gives you some new lenses, encourages you to keep observing, keep questioning. Until next time.